with that, we are going to move on to our long-awaited segment, our Carolina Panthers rebuild, which we will come up with a better name post-production because that's a terrible name for a YouTube video. But we've kind of been doing this a little bit. I don't think we intentionally have been doing this, but we've kind of made this a running segment, this with the draft profiles. We've kind of been going through and rebuilding teams. So we might just have to remake this into a playlist for you guys and just rename it the RFL Business Consultants. We're here to fix your shitty team. We've already done one on the Chargers. We've already done one on the Bears. You guys can check those out. We're going to move on to the Panthers now. We're going to fix them. We're going to make them competitive in 2024. They will no longer be in contention for the number one pick. They will be on the verge of being a playoff team. I stand by that. I think once you hear the changes we make, you will stand by that too. So, starting off with the obvious things here, we need to make some hiring. There's been some firings going on there. So, for me, I'm bringing in for the president of football operations, Samir Solomon. Again, I apologize if I miss saying that name, but he has been the VP for football administration for the Panthers for the last few years. Actually, I think he just got that promotion, but he's been with the program for a few years. He's handled the Panthers players' negotiations, and he's managed the salary cap for a while. He's been around for about 25 years in the NFL. He's mostly been the contracts, player personnel kind of guy. That's a lot of his upbringing. I know he was trying to venture into scouting more, but it's just not his forte. So to pair with him, I'm going to bring in a general manager of Tariq Ahmad, who has 3 years as being the director of college scouting for the 49ers previously. He's actually expected to be the in-house replacement for Adam Peters, who was just named the Washington Commanders GM. So if you can get him before they even promote him, that'd be a fantastic hire, I feel like, for the Panthers. His whole history, going back to when he was working at Rutgers as a scout, has always been involved in scouting. He knows the scouting. Oh my God, I was trying to think of the scouting circuit. He's been on it for a decade plus at this point. He's the guy you want. This kind of gives you your contract player negotiation guy. It gives you your draft kind of guy. Gives you a perfect blend on how you're going to want to build your team. Let me scroll up here. For next thing of the whole tree that we're trying to build here, head coach, we're going Ben Johnson. I'm paying whatever I got to pay to Ben Johnson to make him ignore every other offer and come to Carolina and coach Bryce Young and turn him into the star that we all know he can be. So he has been the Lions offensive coordinator for a few years. He's the hottest name in the head coaching hiring circuit. He comes with an innovative play calling. He's a fantastic play designer and play caller. He knows offense. To pair with him, we're bringing in an offensive coordinator. I'm going to bring in Brian Griese. He is the current quarterback coach for the 49ers. Should be noticing a little bit of a trend here with former 49ers. If you want to be the best, you got to take from the best. He is a former player and quarterback himself in Tampa. He played a good role in developing Brock Purdy into being what he's been. He also helped turn around Sam Darnold, who in his start last week against the Rams looked a lot better than he has in years. He wasn't turnover prone, wasn't putting the ball in dangerous situations. He taught him a more effective way to play quarterback. For defensive coordinator, I know this has kind of been a hot topic for Panthers fans because they wanted to keep Ejiro, I believe I'm saying that name wrong. They wanted to make him the head coach. Unfortunately, in this scenario, I was not able to make him the head coach. But I did retain him as the defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator last season. He allowed the fewest passing yards per game. He is a rising star at the position, and if you can keep him, I know the players love him. You absolutely have to. Quarterback, obviously I'm sticking with Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick. You can't just move off that after 1 year. So that's kind of my coaching and front office hiring.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I think the VP or the president of football ops makes sense. GM makes sense. Head coach Ben Johnson's on the circuit this upcoming market. He's the hottest name right now, or one of the hottest names. So that of course makes sense. And it makes sense that for DC and quarterback is Bryce Young. Yeah. I want to get your thoughts though on one name for offensive coordinator. And this might seem kind of like an unknown for many people, but I think once I say it, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, he's around. I didn't know he was actually around. So the Lions quarterback coach right now is Mark Brunell. And obviously he played in the league for many years. He's over there, coaching up Jared Goff, working with Ben Johnson right now. Do you think it'll be a viable option for Mark to come over as the OC if Ben Johnson is hired as the head coach for the Panthers?
So that would obviously be a fantastic hire. He's worked with Ben Johnson. He did really good work with Jared Goff. Jared Goff has kind of improved a lot since he's left the Rams. He's less turnover prone than he's been. The only, not even concern, I would say, it's not might be the wrong word. I imagine the Lions will probably block that hire. They probably want to promote him to offense coordinator themselves, keep a little bit of that continuity going. I know the 49ers did a similar thing when Mike McDaniel left to be the Dolphins head coach. Him and Kyle Shanahan had kind of talked before and discussed, okay, these are the guys, these are the assistants you could take, these are the ones you can't. And they kind of hashed that out and worked it out. I imagine that's probably going to be a similar situation we see in this because again, if you're the Lions, you don't want to lose your offense coordinator and your quarterbacks coach. It's just not a great look. You're going to, be in a shitty situation yourself. So that's the only hiccup I can see going wrong with that. That's why I say the Brian Griese thing. But if they're able to pull that off, if for some reason the Lions are okay with letting him go, that'd also be a fantastic hire.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Moving on to transactions. Currently, the Panthers have $40.4 million in cap space. Now, seems like a lot. When you really start breaking it down, it's not. We got to find a way to get more. First kind of steps we're going to do, I'm trading Adam Thielen. He's a great player. He had a great season for Carolina. There are too many wide receiver and playoff needy teams that need a weapon, and he's aging. He wants to go chase a ring. I think it's only fair to let him go chase a ring. It also gets some money off the books. For this kind of scenario, although, again, might not be perfect, I am sending him to the Chiefs for a fourth-round pick. It's fair compensation. He's an older guy. Gives them what they want, gives you a fair compensation back of a fourth-round pick. I'm also trading Dante Jackson, the corner, pretty much for whatever I can get for him post June 1st. I know he's kind of struggled since signing his extension with Carolina. He's one of the bigger contracts. You got to get off. He's not providing a whole lot. I think he only has a year or two left in it. But if you get more for him if you trade him post June 1st. So in this scenario, I am trading him to the Raiders for a 2025 fifth-round pick. The Raiders need cornerback depth. It's not a whole lot to get back. It's a not this year, next year draft fifth-round pick. So I think they'd probably be okay with doing that. That might even fall to a 6, depending. But that's probably where I would go with that. So in this post-trade cap space scenario, after trading Dante Jackson and Adam Thielen, I'm coming with $48.6 million. Moving on to restructures and releases. A couple guys I'm restructuring the contracts. Now, I will give this disclaimer now. I'm not a contract guy. I'm not going to go create 1,000 different scenarios with what we could do. The Panthers could add void years onto these contracts to spread out the signing bonuses further, give themselves more cap space. I'm not doing that. That's not what my job is. I did this all over on Spot Track, so it allows you to just do a basic restructure, which spreads the signing bonus over the course of the regular deal. So with that in mind, I restructured Taylor Morton, Von Bell, Hayden Hurst, Shai Tuttle, and Miles Sanders. That freed up a little bit of room. Again, with that, they don't need to agree to it. It doesn't affect how much they're getting. You can just make that kind of decision yourself. I also did release center Bradley Bozeman. He has not been worth the money he's been paid. He's 30. He's getting about $10 million a year. With all those restructures and the release of Bradley Bozeman, it freed up cap space and got me up to $69 million in available space right now. Moving on to free agency. Guys, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details of the contracts that I signed. I will post this to Twitter. I'll post on our Instagram. If you want to go see specifically what I re-signed these guys to, you can go check it there. I pretty much used the Spot Track projected contract as the baseline. I upped it. I think it was like $500,000 on some of them to kind of like the negotiating wiggle room kind of thing. But just a quick highlight of it. For current Panthers free agents, I'm re-signing Brian Burns. I re-signed Yetur Gross-Matos, Shaquille Griffin, Stephen Sullivan, and Troy Hill. The big note from that I did not re-sign was linebacker Frankie Louv. I apologize for missaying his last name. He is a good player. I'm not saying he's not. Problem I have with him, he's a B player, which is fine. But when you're a team that's already a little bit cap strapped, you can't be spending money on B players. You need to re-sign your blue bloods, and you need to replace those B players with draft picks. That's what we got to do. He's projected to get anywhere between 11 to 15 million. And unfortunately, if I do that, I don't have any money to re-sign anybody else. But here's the thing I know Panthers fans have been waiting for. If you're watching this, you're thinking to yourself, well, who the fuck is going to play receiver for us, guys? Come on, RFL, tell us. Do we get Tee Higgins? Who is it? And I'm sorry to say we could not. I'm just kidding. Of course, I got Tee fucking Higgins. I'm not going to come out of this without getting Tee Higgins. I don't need the comments. We signed Tee Higgins to a 3-year, $70 million deal, which ate up pretty much the majority of our remaining cap space. I also did bring in as a lower under-the-radar signature guard/center John Feliciano. He is on the 49ers. He's about 30, 31, I believe. Go look up his PFF grade. He's in mid-80s ranking. He has really come in and done a good job of stabilizing the right guard position, which has been struggling at the first half of the season. He's a good piece. He can either play center or guard for you. So it should help stabilize some of that interior there. After all of those moves, I'm down to about 8.5 million, which is fine. That leaves me just enough to sign my draft class. So,
yeah, I think all the signings make sense. And, I do want to throw another wrinkle out there. If you're a Panthers fan, you're most likely watching this, and you already know that the Panthers O-line kind of struggled last year. I saw on PFF that they ranked the Panthers O-line as a unit the 29th best O-line. So obviously, this work needs to be done there. I know you address some of that with releasing their current center, and then you sign someone for a pretty nice contract, pretty cheap deal, but could be value there. But another path they could take is kind of putting a lot of money towards the O-line. And there's a right guard who currently plays for the Rams, who is projected to be the best available guard by PFF in this year's free agent cycle. And that's right guard Kevin Dotson. Now, he is the best guard out there right now for this free agent cycle. So, players in free agency usually cost more. You have to pay a premium there. He will, what PFF projects to cost around a 4-year, $69 million deal. So about $17.25 million per year. Again, maybe the cap space is not there for them, but I just want to show another option they could take regarding O-line and spending money and whatnot.
Yeah, I just want to bounce off that as well. Pretty much when I was looking at it, it came down to the decision of would I rather use my limited cap space to bring in a receiver or improve the O-line. I felt that there was enough wide receiver or O-line help in the draft, and there really wasn't any O-line help free agent-wise that I was comfortable with paying a lot of money to. In the real world, for example, that Tee Higgins deal that we talked about, I signed him for, I think it was 3 or 4 years, $70 million. Came out to about 23.5 a year. Now, that's how I have to do it for my note taking. In reality, you sign that deal, and in first year, Tee Higgins is making 7.5, which opens up a lot of cap space for you to also get a guard. Again, obviously, I can't project that he's going to be okay doing that. So I gotta just go with what the average is and roll with it. So, but I also do want to include the Panthers do have a currently $175 million for 2025. If they want to, they could aid in some of that by adding void years onto current players' contracts and spreading that signing bonus out over that as well. Or again, signing a Tee Higgins, first year it's a $5 million cap hit. The next year it's a $30 million cap hit because you have more money to eat up that year. So there's a lot of ways the Panthers could play with this and do it, which is what I'm now hoping our new president of football operations will be good enough to do. But I'm not going to do that for this segment because it's just going to convolute things and complicate things that may not actually happen. So with that, I'm going to move on with my 8.5 million in cap space, and I'm going to enter into the draft. I did factor in our 4th round pick that we got from Kansas City for Adam Thielen. I pulled these from Spot Track, so these are as accurate as they can be right now. Obviously, comp picks haven't come back. playoffs haven't finished, so certain positions may vary. So bear with me on that. But quick rundown: we have our second round pick, number 33, third round pick, number 65, a fourth round pick that's projected to be pick number 101, a fourth round pick from Kansas City that's projected to be 131, a fifth round pick from Tennessee that's projected to be 150, a fifth round pick from San Francisco that's projected to be 158, and a sixth round pick from Arizona that is projected to be 178. Sorry to bore you with all those numbers. I just want to let you know where we're at and where we're picking. So for this portion, I went to PFF's big board. I kind of compared some guys' projected draft positions versus where they're currently ranked to kind of get a feel of where they might end up. So I don't have Marvin Harrison Jr. falling to the second round. I didn't want that kind of a situation. I did also verify that most, if not all of these guys have declared for the draft already. So anyone I'm listing out here won't be a matter of, well, they didn't actually enter the draft, they went back to college. So with that in mind, the draft needs for the Carolina Panthers currently are wide receiver, left tackle, edge, and center. I tried doing a couple things in free agency to limit the needs so we could play around more freely, but I still want to attack those needs the best we can. So starting off with our second round pick, this may be a little bit of an overdraft, but I think throughout the draft process, this guy's stock is going to rise. So it's better to get him early than to miss out on him later. I am taking Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon. He was PFF's number one ranked center based on his season. He also, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but from what I saw, he had only given up 1 sack or 3 sacks, whatever it was, in his entire college career. So I'm taking him in the second round pick. That solidifies our center position, helps Bryce Young with that interior of the O-line, should give him more time to throw to guys. With the third round pick, number 65, I went wide receiver. I took Jalen Polk, wide receiver from Washington, on PFS Big Boys 57. We kind of hope he's got to fall a couple spots, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. If not, Jalen McMillan should be there for us still as well. But I went Jalen Polk in this. He had a great season, 1,000 yards. He's one of the 3-headed monsters for Washington. He helps bring in a wide receiver too. I know we just drafted someone last year in Mingo, but he hasn't produced so far. Hopefully this will be the Robin to our new Batman in Tee Higgins. Moving on from that, we got a fourth round selection at 101. I went with Marshawn Neeland, the defensive end from from Western Michigan. This is a guy that averaged about 22 to 24 pressures a year at Western Michigan, which is solid numbers. He had a PFF grade of 86.5. We could start him off by using him as a situational pass rusher, and then as he develops over the years, maybe give him more run as a run stopper as well. I like his potential. I think he's 6'5", 275, so he's in that prototypical range. Moving on to our fourth round, the pick we got from Kansas City. We're using that to draft our tackle of the future in Javon Foster, the tackle from Missouri. He's got the prototypical left tackle build. I believe he's 6'7", 305. Very agile. Sometimes gets beat a little bit quickly, but if we can kind of keep Ekwam currently where he's at, I would like him to compete for the guard spot, but if he doesn't win it, we can start him off at left tackle. And then as the season goes on, as Javon's developing, maybe he'll replace him. Hopefully he won't have to do it in the first season, but if he needs to, I do feel confident he's a guy that could step in. First, fifth round pick from Tennessee, pick number 150, Ben Sinnott, the tight end out of K-State. He's not your inline blocker kind of guy. He's more one of those move tight ends. Travis Kelce's a little undersized. He's a really good route runner. He's quick. He's fast. He runs good routes. He's just going to be another weapon for Bryce Young. If we're having to rely on him to block, we've done something wrong. We can find blocking tight ends somewhere else. The dime a dozen. I want a guy that's going to be able to be a playmaker for us out there. Our other fifth round pick from San Francisco, pick number 158. I went with Anais Smith, wide receiver at Texas A&M. A little bit undersized, 5'10" kind of guy. We actually found him when we were doing our Xavier Legette video. They played Texas A&M, and he just kind of popped off screen to me. He's fast. He's quick. He's great in and out of breaks. He's a good route runner, and they actually use him a little bit as a running back as well. So he's multi-versatile in his position. You can use him as a kick returner. You can have him line up in the backfield for us like a scat back kind of role, put him in the slot. You can do a lot of cool little weapons with him, which I trust Ben Johnson to do, especially with his success with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I expect him to kind of be one of those under the radar kind of guys, under the radar. For our sixth round pick, I did initially have Brian Ajuwu, the defensive end from Miami, Ohio, but he hadn't declared yet, so I did switch it based on my own rules. I went with Brendyn Jackson, the defensive end out of Washington State. He's another guy. He's 6'5", he's 290. He's a little bit of a tweener kind of guy. He could be a D tackle, could be a D end. I wouldn't mind kicking him in on pass rushing situations. He's fast. He's quick. I think he had an 80-plus yard fumble recovery earlier in the year. He's got a high motor. He's a good character kind of guy. He's someone you want to have in your locker room. He could play on special teams as well. So that would round out my draft. I've kind of attacked all the needs. We have our center of the future. We brought our wide receiver 2. We brought our little scat back playmaker kind of receiver, a couple different defensive ends, and we have another playmaker at tight end now and potentially our tackle of the future.
I think you addressed all the gaps there. The holes there. Well, man. For sure.
Yeah, it took a while to try to find okay, when are these guys going to be available? What are they projected to be? Who's actually declaring? It was really fun and enjoyable, but it'll be interesting to see how these guys' careers actually do pan out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's how I rebuild the Panthers. We would have a new solidified O-line. We can keep Ikanu. I know I'm missaying his name. I apologize. The tackle out of NC State going to his third year, who had an okay year. I know Panthers fans weren't a fan of it. He can still start a tackle for now, with eventually Foster may be able to take over that role, him kicking inside the guard. I know we still have Colette, who is on IR, coming back with the addition of John Feliciano, as well as Jackson Power Smith Johnson. We're going to have a little bit of a competition between the guard center guard spots to see who is going to come out on top. There's also Christian Bradshaw as well, and the right guard they drafted last year as well will be in the mix. Again, I apologize for getting his name. We're clearly looking at a lot of names to try to figure out who's going to be available where. The point is I want to take the interior line. I want to take those 5-6 guys, and I want to let them battle out for who's going to be the best at the position and give Bryce, the protection that he needs. We got him a couple new weapons. We're really revamping the offense and bringing in a couple depth pieces on the defensive line that could be pass rushers to help solidify that defensive line.
And E, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but guys, if you're a Panthers fan and you watch this entire segment, go ahead and give us a like here and sub to us, please. Emmett put a lot of time towards this. I mean, I don't even know 90% of the names in this entire breakdown, and so he put a lot of man hours towards the research. And I know a Panthers fan out there has to appreciate the effort here, and maybe he'll learn a thing or two about his or her own favorite team too. So please give us a like and a sub just off his own effort here. And if you are a Panthers fan, tell us what you think of the breakdown. Did we miss a name? Do you think maybe they should keep a certain player? Whatever. But dude, shout out to you, man. You put a lot of work towards this breakdown here.
Thank you. Honestly, I love doing this kind of thing. I love helping rebuild a team. But yeah, like B said, if you guys like what we do here, we do this every week, and we really enjoy, especially these kind of player breakdowns. But like we said, let us know if it's someone that we should resign, that we didn't. But we're going to sign off here. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in with us. We're the RFL Show. You guys can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, Spotify. Until next time, it's been Emmett. It's been B. You guys have a great night, okay?